everyone, and welcome to the As I Amber podcast. I'm Amber, and I love to talk about music, pop culture, travel, and society. On today's special episode, I have with me Solomon Hilkley and Yasmine. Say hey, y'all.
Hey.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Hey. So, as you all may or may not know, the funny thing about this episode or this particular scenario is all three of us went to the same college at different times. And I know both of these two people, and I gotten to know Solomon over quarantine, over the pandemic with different podcast episodes, but I wanted to just give that out there. So we're familiar with our college years, our millennial age years. So so we'll get started. So today's episode is about Issa Rae's Insecure. So you know we're fans. If you've listened to the podcast, you've probably listened to the Insecure Melodies episode, or you probably listened to the Insecure Times episode. And we have given our love of Issa Rae and her creations. So if you don't know who Issa Rae is, you need to Google her. Where have you been? Do you live in this? So for those who may or may not follow her, Issa Rae started out on YouTube about 12 years ago. And she started out creating a series called The Misadventures of an Awkward Black Girl. So it was like The Office meets, something we've never seen before, because we never saw a dark-skinned Black woman just be herself, not put together, not super perfect. And a lot of the shows that came out in the 2010s kind of showed that side of the Black experience, because we are all different. We are not a monolith. And I think Issa's voice was so unique because that was nothing that I had ever witnessed on TV, with a quirky kind of character who falls down, who runs into stuff, and who is just a hot mess all over. So she went from YouTube to HBO, which is huge, because she kind of broke the barrier for creatives because of the internet, because of crowdfunding. She created her own lane, and we can't talk about Issa Rae without mentioning her predecessors. So shows like Living Single, shows like Martin, shows that showed Black fun times and were not always based off of trauma and tragedy. Life happens, but the focus of Insecure was just about imperfect people. And I wanted to know your thoughts, Yasmine and Solomon, on what did you think when you first heard or saw Insecure?
I guess I'll go first. You actually put me on Awkward, the Misadventures of an Awkward Black Girl. So I want to put that out there, and thank you for that. And when I found out Insecure was coming out, I was like, okay, is this going to be part 2 of ABG? Or, I don't know what to expect, but I knew it was going to be good because I loved her from that series. So I was like, oh, I know this is going to be a really good show. I don't know what to expect, because I really felt like the trailer didn't really portray what I was going to expect. Like, I didn't know she was going to cheat on Lawrence. I didn't know, all of that was going to happen. I think they did a really good job with that, because a lot of times shows do that. They put everything at the forefront, and that you're like, okay, I already know what's going to happen. I don't need to watch it. But yeah, it was mind blowing, and I'm glad that they showed it the way they did. Like, previewed it. I'm sorry, yeah. So it was really
No, so I was just gonna agree with you guys. I found out about ABG when it came out, when I was in like a prior situation, and we both watched the show, and I just became a fan from then. So, when I heard Insecure was coming out, I was like, okay, let's see what she can do. But what she was able to do with a 30-minute show, for 5 seasons, man, like I was just saying, it's just amazing. I think she, perfectly captured like the millennial struggle. And it's one of them things where you either really really like it or don't like it at all. And I think I just think our generation, it's like our different world, because we look at it like I'm going through that, or I'm about to go through that, or I know someone going through that. And I think she just did a really good job of capturing the feelings and emotions that we all feel in this point in time. Man, it's just it's a one of a kind show. Awkward Black Girl like kicked open so many doors for like indie film and indie movies and web series, and she just really made a lane for other people, and it was just amazing to see that run.
Yes, and speaking of creating a lane for other people, there's also an Insecure: The End documentary
I
on
heard.
HBO Max, and it's just pretty much Issa behind the scenes and the cast, and she gives credit to everybody, and that's kind of rare that you don't see
Mhm.
somebody thank everybody, from the hairstyles, from the
Mhm.
outfits, to the locations, to the people driving on set. There was one guy that mentioned he was an older white gentleman. He said, "This is the first time I've been on set where I'm the only white guy." And he mentioned that in a positive way because they weren't just saying this is diversity, they actually were inclusive and including in it. And so many times we hear people go from the indie world or internet world and they make it big and they kind of compromise their art for sale.
Mhm.
And it's
Mhm.
like Issa stayed true to herself. And she even put the people that were in her web series on the show. They might have been different
Yeah.
characters, or they might have been the same writers who were with her 10, 12 years ago. And I just think that's a beautiful thing because creatives, I know there was an interview and Issa was like, sometimes we're often looking for networking with other people instead of networking across the aisle with the people that we already know in our circles. And
Mhm.
I think that was like a major breakthrough for her because I believe that you get what you give sometimes. And she gave out genuineness, and I think she's gotten that back tenfold because of how she created and carried herself. Do I know her personally? No, but I hope one day to meet her. But it
God
just
willing.
seems like she's
Yeah.
really genuine about what she and strategic
Yes.
about what and why she's doing something. So speaking of what and why, what were your thoughts on this season 5 or series finale?
Anybody want to go first?
You got it.
Oh, I got it. Oh,
Oh goodness.
oh. You know, I wrote about it, and I just say it like this. I get both sides of the argument. For people who are disappointed, I understand why you would be disappointed. I got kicked like 9 times last night while the episode was going on, so I get the anger. But you know, I was pleased because I thought it was realistic. I think the big overarching thing she was trying to get us to realize was like you got to decide what makes you happy. And each character I felt like chose to be happy as opposed to not basing their life on what other people thought. And that's why I was pleased with it. It was like, what makes me happy? I'm gonna do that. And even if other people don't agree, I'm not listening to nobody else. I'm just choosing what makes me happy. And I think that's realistic. But I know what I think people wanted from her, and I thought it was going to be that too. But you know, sometimes you got to give somebody a prop for being risky and choosing to tell people to do what makes them happy as opposed to what people want to see.
Cool. What about you, Yasmine?
I think I'm a little bit more on the disappointed side. Be honest. I feel like the whole season was just it wasn't giving for me. I think it got really good towards the end. Like the beginning, I was just like, okay, y'all just trying to fill in some episodes. Okay. And then at the end, it was like, oh, it's getting really good, but it's ending. And I understand that they had an episode that was like 52 minutes long. It was a little bit longer than it usually is. And I understand. I really like how they ended. Everyone chose their happiness, like you said, and the main goal was everyone was to find security within their insecurities, and I could tell. And they were tweeting about that with the mirror, where they're saying like the mirror girl wasn't there at the end, and all of that. You know how we like to read into things. So I really do like that. I like that her and Lawrence got back together because it was always them, and the real story between her and Molly. But I just felt like I wish I just thought everything was so rushed.
Yeah.
And that was my thing in the finale. It was just rushed to me, and there was not a lot of timestamps. Tiffany's baby is 1, and then she's 5. Like, what did this happen? And it was just a lot of inconsistencies for me. But overall, I love Issa. I love the show, and I think the finale they did the best they could, and that's if they feel if they're sleeping well at night and like this is what we did and we did our job, then so be it. I'm just a bystander.
Right. I try to be sensitive because I know as a creator, as a writer, we're always sensitive about what we put out.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a lot of courage and tenacity to do a show for 5 years. Not only are you starring in it, but you're writing it, you're producing it. And that's a big deal that I don't think everyone understands all the time. And especially with 2020 and 2021, with the pandemic and trying to film the last season of a show during a global pandemic and people having to get, tested and wear masks and record. So I think I was trying to take those things into consideration. But then I thought about it and I was like, but still, it wasn't giving what it was supposed to have gave. I told Solomon it felt like an assignment that you knew about, but it kind of slipped your mind, and then you had to hurry up and upload it before 11:59. So you were like, oh, this gonna happen. And I really thought that this season was going to be like a fantasy sequence because Issa is always daydreaming. And at first I was like, this could be a fantasy sequence and all of this, what if all this is a dream? But I had to realize it's about character development. And if you watch the first episode and the last episode, you see growth. You see someone go from insecure to more confident. And I saw from the first season, Lawrence is on the couch and he forgot his girlfriend's birthday. To the end, he has a birthday cake with the bonus baby. We'll get into that.
And she has a wedding ring.
So it Issa's world, in her mind, in her life, the character Issa, that's what she wanted for herself. She knew what it was.
Can I just interject with a couple things? Like, I'll say this. I agree with people that said time lapses are kind of lazy writing. Okay, I'll agree with that. I think the time lapse and the lack of a cohesive dates, I think that kind of made it a lot tougher to follow. I do think that it should have been more than 30-minute episodes. That was too. I think the way season 4 left it, it was too heavy for you to keep the same format for 5. You almost would have to have like 45-minute episodes, almost hour episodes to give, because there was still a lot left on the table. I get the arc is complete, but it was a lot left on the table. I just think it's one of the things, sometimes you write yourself into a corner. You write it too good, and it's like it's gonna end up being Game of Thrones. It's like you set the bar so high to where it's like,
how can it be attainable?
You can't please everybody, because if she would have said, you know what, I choose myself.
Everyone.
You'd have been like,
pick somebody.
Just disappear? Like, nah, this doesn't work.
I really wondered about certain characters, such as Daniel. Where is he? What? Everybody, even Dro made a little comeback. And I was like, what?
Hey, boy Daniel.
But Daniel kind of is the starter of all this commotion and all the drama. But Issa, I was telling someone on Twitter, I'm gonna miss watching the show in real time, because the beauty of the show was that, unlike other shows that stream on different cable platforms, it wasn't released at midnight. It was released, you have to wait. And when you have to wait for something, you anticipate it. People are tweeting away like, oh my God, can you believe this? Like, they're real characters. And the scenarios were real. Everyone knows someone that may act like Molly, or you may act like Molly, or you might have Issa moments, or you might have Tiffany moments, or Kelly moments, or Lawrence moments, or Nathan moments. And I think that's what the beauty of the evolution of the characters. Because you think about somebody like Tiffany, she could have had a bigger storyline, but the show is about Molly and Issa. And I think about how they kind of delved into each kind of scenario because adult friendships are hard to maintain. And when you're in college, when they did the flashback to the college years or went back on the college campus, when you're accustomed to seeing someone every single day, hanging out with them, and then you fast forward, life happens. People get married, people have kids, people move away, people have health issues, family issues. And it was just neat to see that everything is not perfect with the little ribbon tied on it.
Exactly.
And I think that's something that really hasn't been explored, because if you look at a character like Tiffany, she had the job, she had the man, she had the career and the baby, everything that society tells us that's what people strive for, but she was unhappy.
Yeah.
In the episode where she went off to the hotel and no one could find Tiffany, she was going through postpartum depression. And when she was sitting in the car in the parking lot at the 7-Eleven, and she was like the only mommy or the only wife of the group. And then we go back to season 1 and season 2 when Molly is on the dating apps and, you know, Issa is doing this and that. And to me, the character that had the most growth was Molly.
She did.
Yes, she did.
She did. And you know, I think it was funny how they did it, because it's not an arc that you would have saw coming. Complete on paper polar opposites. But I like the fact that she was able to finally get past how it should look as opposed to how it felt. And I think that's the big thing I keep going to. Like, we as millennials, we get caught up a lot in how things are supposed to look. We should have this type of person, we should have this type of job, but are you really happy? And do you realize, like, it takes time to become happy, and you can't just be happy overnight? You have to like, you know, the most pivotal line to me, we went from "we got y'all" till "I got mine." That was real. It's like,
yeah,
that's how it is. Like, you start off like, I know I can't be here forever. Am I gonna be here forever? And then you start getting some stuff, you be like, oh shoot, this was the beautiful part.
You
know?
And the main character, another character that is funny and kind of surprising is Kelly. Kelly, I want Kelly to have a spinoff.
She does. She does. And like you said, Amal needs a show too.
Yes.
Yes, he does.
Yes, Amal and Kelly.
The thing I like that they did was they kind of like, it was authentic speaking for Black men. I thought it just wasn't centered around Black men, which I thought was important. You tell the story, you know, and for better or worse, you still don't forget to make this, like, it speaks for Black men, and it's created so many convos, but it's not centered on us. Like, our favorite shows are still centered around like Black male leads for the most part. And this just was like, yeah, that's cool, but this person and these two people are the most important people on the show.
You're absolutely right. And I think the show was a great conversation starter. It made you look at scenarios from a different perspective, or it made you realize, like you said, that life is not gonna go perfect, and what your definition of success is, mine may not be. And I also think that it was interesting to talk about the conversation of mental health on national television. And it was like, it was very subtle, you know, it didn't feel like an after school program special, but everything from why is Lawrence sitting on the couch with no job? We didn't know what was going on with him. The character Nathan, you think someone's just ghosting, and he's going through his own battles. And we saw Molly go to therapy. We saw Tiffany battle with her postpartum depression after having a baby. And it was like, oh, this is like what things look like. And I think that's a major thing to talk about in the Black community, because that is something that is oftentimes not discussed. And if it is discussed on television, it's like very stereotyped and just letting people be who they are, you know?
And you know, to piggyback off that, they did it in a really, like you said, they did it in a really sneaky way. There's a lot of sneaky conversations from regular episodes. It was a conversation about, well, the actors, we don't see them putting on a condom. Do they have a condom on? That was a real talking point.
Yeah.
Her dealing with the TSA dude. that was a real talking point. Like, dang, women are fat phobic too. This is a real thing.
Yeah.
Like those became side conversations. Like, okay, so he fat, so y'all saying she shouldn't be with. And these are like innocuous episodes create real things. And like somebody was saying, you had dudes like breaking down the science of people who were Team Lawrence versus Lawrence Hive, and I ain't never really think about it till I saw it. Like, oh, there is a difference. Dang, because I was like rolling with the Hive, and I had to just be like, all right, let me chill. I'm gonna switch to Team Lawrence because I was with the Hive.
What's the difference?
The difference was like the Hive is more so embracing the more toxic aspects of Lawrence characteristics. Like, you know, the whole groundbreaking episode where he got his little get back and everything.
Yeah.
Like Lawrence Hive was like born that night. Everybody's like, oh, but when you really look at it, it's kind of like, but he got to take responsibility for the things he wasn't contributing to the situation. He wasn't, you know, handling his business in some aspects, and he started to become more the man he wanted to be as time progressed. So you become more. Go ahead.
Oh, like you mentioned about Lawrence became that. I also see that the show is about emotional intelligence. Because oftentimes it sparked the conversation of, well, he didn't cheat on Issa, he didn't treat her bad, but was he emotionally aware that of certain things, or was Issa emotionally aware? Like they lacked having conversations, and we saw it even more with her and Nathan. He would ghost, but Issa would avoid conversations and confrontations.
It just didn't work. Yeah.
And even with Molly, they would never like have a conversation about what bothered them, or, you know, and that's real because some people don't do that. And so it was interesting to me when the character Condola was introduced. And I always thought it was interesting that I don't remember Condola ever apologizing to Issa for standing her up at the block party event. Like, that was just real messed up to me, because that's your career, that's your reputation. And that rubbed me the wrong way. Not that she was with Lawrence, because Lawrence and Issa weren't together when he met Condola.
You know, the thing I think about Condola's character that got missed was kind of how she was that way with everybody. Like, she wasn't really jumping up and down about being with him. She was really making it seem like it was like a fling type of deal, because she had, I guess, got out of a divorce or whatever they were saying. But even her approach to him, it took her time to grow and realize, I have to communicate. I can't just shoot you a text. Oh, your baby's born. Like,
yeah.
Like, yo, what did you want in that? How is this gonna be a fruitful relationship? You shoot me a text and say, do you have to be here? I mean, you can if you want to. Like, she had to learn to be an adult. He had to learn to be an adult and communicate and not respond aggressively to the mother of your child. Like, they had to learn. And, you know, I thought that they did that in a way that was pretty realistic. It was realistic, was my main thing. You go on different ends of it. Y'all can hate each other and progressively work back to love. And sometimes you had like those Daniel type situations where you really like a person, but you realize they fundamentally just don't respect you, and you just cut them off completely. You know, or he was just getting a good movie role. He just decided not to come back.
Right. It also reminded me a little bit of other shows. Like if you watch The Game with Mara Brock Akil show with Melanie and Derwin, they had a similar situation where they were a couple, lived together for a long time. They had a break or a breakup, and he impregnated somebody else. And it's like this show, Issa embraced the child, whereas the other show, the girl wasn't really feeling it.
I want you to know the tweets have been so funny in that. Oh my God. I say them, and every time I say them, I get flicked. But they were like, Issa wasn't the stepmom. She's the mom that stepped up. I was like, yes, God. Yes, God. No,
God.
But for real, I kind of didn't want to see that because of that. Because I was like, dang, I know what people are going to say. We deserve better than to be the stepmom, and why she had to settle. But I knew this was coming. I was like, God, they're gonna say this, but I was like, it's realistic though. It's realistic though.
Is it really real? Like, is it really realistic?
It's people in them situations.
Let's be honest.
But I don't say, for me, it's not. But for other people, that is.
I think think everything just depends on who you with and who you meet. You know, you'll accept more than you normally would if it's the right person. I'm not saying you should have to. No one should have to take less.
Look at Gabrielle Union and Dwayne Wade.
I mean,
she got a whole book tour about it, and I'm just like, is that awkward or not? Like, that's their business, but you rehashing stuff each time you talk about it. So they're making millions, so I guess it works for them.
I appreciated the candor at first, but I think we all starting to get to the point with celebrity candor where we like, all right, enough is enough. Because I love the Will Smith book. And I was one of them people like, leave him alone. But now I'm like, all right, maybe it's a little too much here. It's a little
too much.
One thing about Issa that I loved is she got married. And
she did.
Nobody really knew until she
under the radar.
And that right there, that's boss level energy.
Exactly.
That's not a secret. You're not a secret. Mm-hmm. There's a difference between being private and a secret, and that's what Yasmine and I were talking about on the Certified Loser Boy episode. But there is beauty in having mystery to being a celeb, especially people that are high platform or celebs. And I thought it was just interesting, just the storyline. Issa, the character, and Issa, the real person, would always go on Twitter like, I hope y'all in the real lives. This is just TV show. Because people are her, cussing her out, or mad, they're happy. And I think when you have that kind of level of success or attainability to people, that's a good thing.
It is good.
Also, don't let this show get y'all jacked up situations. Don't send the future text.
Oh my gosh.
Don't send it.
Like,
I'm just saying.
Lawrence to my Issa.
No,
it's not.
Real life, because real life, I don't know of a guy that would take a girl back after she cheated on him. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's kind of unheard of in our community sometimes. So I'm like, don't get no ideas.
Yeah. That's real. I think we just got to realize it's still fiction, but
it is. Yeah.
But I'll just say a lot more of this happens than people think. What people say and what people do is different. Like they said, dudes will post the future memes and be over there getting the bottle fed to them and be like, I love you so much. So I just learned not to believe what I see.
Right.
It's not true.
And the funny thing about it, all of this, is Molly's husband was here the whole time.
Yep.
Oh, Torian.
It's just.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Torian was there for her, and I knew when he sent her chicken wings and wine via the little Uber Eats.
That was sweet.
He really likes her. But I just wanted to see like how they were gonna like marry and the firm. I needed more. I just wanted to see like how did it work out with her fiance, her working together, or her husband and her. He made partner or something. That's a conflict of interest sometimes. So I wondered how they were going to tackle that, and maybe they left it like that so that in the future there could be a sequel or a movie. Even though Issa said she doesn't want to do that, but you never know. People say one thing and have a change of heart. That's what we learned.
That money starts looking real nice. And one thing about that, touching on that, I really like how Torian is like completely opposite from the dude she has dated in the past, and how like, because usually she was like a real tall, like she had a certain type and he wasn't that type, and they didn't really like each other at first, and then eventually they came to fall in love. I just love that whole story. It's like you just never know. And
the wedding scene was beautiful. I think I shed a tear because Molly's mom, oh my God, that right there, that can kind of hit close to home, because if you have to take care of a parent or think of those kind of things, that's real life though. That's real life. And also when Issa was helping her with her dress. Now I had some questions. I was like, hold on, isn't her husband supposed to be helping her take her dress off?
That was real.
But according to my colleagues and peers who have been in weddings and have been the bridesmaid or maid of honor, they help with the, helping their friends or their sister or aunt or whoever with putting the dress, the intricate details of taking the dress. And it's like when your friends get married or your friends have a baby, it's a beautiful moment. And it's also kind of sad because you know things won't be the same. Not saying that you throw your friends away, but you know you can't just call up your friend at 2 a.m. Girl, let's go here. Like she has a whole husband, a whole baby. Like
The
you got a
relationship.
mortgage now. You can't just
right. You can't be rolled up a thing no more.
no more. Just you can still be friends, but I think the dynamic just changes, and that's what I think I saw in that moment: the grieving of a friendship, but the beauty of a new chapter. And I think that was really Yvonne Orji and Issa Rae, the actor.
Oh yeah, for
really
sure.
Trying.
Yeah,
for sure.
Issa changed so many lives with the show.
Yeah.
And the beauty of the show is that everybody was kind of unknown. And now they have launched other career paths and everything because this show didn't get regular actors and actresses. It was like fresh faces. And Issa also paid tribute to other actors and actresses with like the little other sidebar shows. Like her mom.
Yes.
Her mom was Wendy Raquel Robinson from the Steve Harvey show, from the game. Yes. Or how Maxine Shaw, attorney at law, how Erica Alexander, her character, the first 2 seasons was like on a TV show that they were watching. So it was cool how she incorporated and paid respect to older Black actors and kind of tie them into the millennial side. So I could go on, but what, y'all have any closing thoughts?
I just appreciate the full circle moment. She drove by the spots in LA because she put on for LA. She hit all the spots in LA that are gentrified now. She gave her nod to LA. She gave a nod to her friends who started the show with her. And she just tied it all up. Could it have? It's one of them things like the Marvel Universe. Yeah, you could have kept going and extended it, but it did what it was supposed to do for our generation. It's kicked open a lot of doors for everybody. And, she just did the unthinkable. So now she set it up to where everything is going to unfortunately be weighed against that for good or for bad. But she did a good job with this. With this one particular moment, we'll be able to use this for the next 50, 100 years. Like people going to be character sketches. You'll be able to use Lawrence as a character sketch for 50 years. You'll be able to use Molly East as a character sketch. You'll be able to use episodes and phrases from there. So she did it.
And I also think that shows like Harlem, Run the World, different shows now, 5, 6 years ago, no one was really listening, but I can't go without saying Black and Sexy TV creators, the Kid Fury and Crystal and everybody that was like on this up and coming moment, and how 10, 12 years later, they're like on a totally different tax bracket, totally different level now. And it's just cool to see in real time. So I think Issa, she has her own production company, hooray, in podcasting and music. So, hey, Issa, you need somebody? But I think it was nice. And I didn't know if y'all saw this Easter egg. You remember at the end of the episode, the very final end, and the guy in the Best Buy t-shirt?
I did see that when he was walking out the door.
Yeah, guess who that was? That was the guy Mariah from Baldwin Hills. So Issa tied in the old BET show Baldwin Hills about the Black kids. That was him all grown up in the Best Buy t-shirt. And I thought that's a full circle moment. And I had to rewind because I was like, he looked familiar. And I was that's old boy from Baldwin Hills. And I just thought that was really cool.
That is interesting.
That's dope.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm glad she did create a space for awkward Black women, college education. Not a lot of trauma. I'm just glad that you didn't see a lot of, jail and people incarcerated, things like that. It was just a really positive show. For real, because, unfortunately, we see not a lot of ratchet TV. It was really positive. It was great writing, awesome storytelling. I loved it. Just Black power, Black girl magic everywhere. And I thank her for that. I really do. This show is going to be talked about for a very long time. And like you said, they're going to try to write those characters back in their own way. And I love that.
So any news from you all that you want to say at the end, besides follow me on asiamber.com and on Twitter and Facebook and Insta, anything like that?
I just say, just follow me on social, Instagram, Solomon Hillfleet, Twitter, same thing. And just from that, just glad to be on the show again.
Awesome. Thank you so much. What about you, Yasmine?
I don't have anything new. Just follow me on Instagram at _onlyyas, and on Twitter, I forget my Twitter name, royally_red. I need to change it. But yeah.
Thank y'all so much for joining the conversation. It's been a great, refreshing time to just talk about a show and not talk about COVID or trauma or drama. Thank you so much, Issa Rae, for creating this platform, for creating everything and just being you. We appreciate it. And you all leave a review, like, share, comment, and let me know your thoughts on the Insecure series finale. Thank you for listening.
Thank y'all.